Okay, hello and welcome to our Fontivo webinar. My name is Heidi Maria Eggerstedt and I'm the Product Marketing Manager for Fontivo. And next to me is Thomas Dörbaum, our Product Owner for the D-Series.
Heidi, thanks for the warm welcome.
And Thomas will present us today the D-Series and especially the new premium product D-400.
Yes, absolutely. We have a new member of our SIP telephony family, and I want to talk with you a little about the D-Series in general and about the D-400 in particular.
Okay, then let's go ahead.
Let's have first a look on our lineup for SIP telephony solutions. By the beginning of this year in April, we launched the COMfortel D-100, our basic model, but nevertheless still have some great advantages. The D-200 was released at the same time. The D-200 is our all-rounder capable of being used along with the extension DX20 to have further function keys available. And now, by December, we present you the COMfortel D-400 as well, once again with the DX20, our new premium product here in the D-Series lineup. Let's begin with the D-Series is an open standard product with a SIP protocol, session initialization protocol, for more flexibility due to the open standards. The D-Series in total is under the claims attractive. Why attractive? We have a new design for our products with the D-Series, and we want to improve the productivity, for example, with a small footprint. The devices themselves, they really need quite small spaces on the desk and are very efficient. Efficient is the next topic I want to talk about, because the setup time is absolutely minimum. For example, if you configure your PBX in the beginning with the provisioning files, you do not have to touch the devices themselves. In general, speaking in general, the customers, they can in theory unpack their devices their own, just plug them in, wait a few seconds, and the provisioning file will be on the telephone with all the functions and settings the administration, the IT department configured for this device. And the last point, the D-Series is very flexible. I already said it, we are using open standards, we're having a ZIP telephone here, and so we are capable of working along with third-party solutions. So it's very a good investment to do, and of course security due to the open standards is provided at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But let's take one step back and talk about why we thought about having a new telephone series, the aims and visions of the COMfortel D-Series. We're a German premium manufacturer, and that's one of our aims, to provide a very high quality for the device itself, but also for our service. For example, if you use our service line, you will always talk to trained professionals and not to a call center or something like that. Next point, easy to use. We wanted a telephone family which is very intuitive to handle. So over all the devices, the menus and functions are in general the same. So if you know one, you know all. Mm-hmm. And that's why you have minimum times to get in touch with the device and to work with it. And by this, increasing the productivity. Mm-hmm. The design, I already mentioned, we wanted straight lines on the desks to have a timeless design, being modern now and in the future, and ergonomic as well. So we have some dedicated hardware keys for the mainly used functions that the working with the devices of the D-Series is in general very, very comfortable.
Okay.
Of course, the working environments are changing rapidly nowadays. For example, you do not have your dedicated desk anymore, at least at some companies. For example, desk sharing is a model that's coming up and getting more and more popular. Or you have, for example, home office, employees working not at the company itself, but from home. Or you have separately your business not just at one place but another place, and you want to connect them to make the employees work like they're in the same building, in the same house. So that's the next point. By using the open standards, I already mentioned the compatibility and security is guaranteed, so to say. And with the D series, we are aiming for other price segments. So for the most, or for cost-sensitive customers, we wanted to provide a device that we can gain new customers who are interested in having the D series in their companies working. For example, contact centers, local authorities, agencies, or hotels.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, that's about our aims and visions about the D series, but let's now talk a little about the features of the D series. And as I mentioned, the D series is more to see as a whole, as a family, so to say. So if we implement one feature, in general, this feature is available for all the devices of the D series. For our end users, the intuitive and cross-series interface, what I mentioned earlier, if you know one, in general you know all. Of course, there are some differences because the D100 and D200 have a black and white display. But in general, the order of the settings, for example, or the call handling in general are the same, so you can really get fast into it and work with it efficiently.
Okay.
You can freely configure your function keys on each of those devices, so you can have a faster change of names of functions, and it's in general more efficient to work with the phone. You can improve the employee's efficiency, or in general improve the quality of the work results due to the ability to individualize the phone for your company or for the employee, him or herself, who wants to add some functions or some keys for his working environment. And right from our basic model, we have the support of wireless headsets, of course wired headsets as well, but via the DHSG or EHS support, you can use wireless headsets from the D100 to the D400 all the way through, and accept or decline calls from your headset while you're not on the phone itself.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
With the D series, we want to improve the capabilities of our devices to cooperate with your colleagues. For example, we have the multicolored busy lamp field. So if you have a subscribe on one of your colleagues or an external number, mm-hmm. you see the call state if provided by the PBX, for example. So actually internally you will see them, but you see if he's in a conversation right now, if there's a call for him, or you can also see if he called you. You will see it via a green LED. So you, by just coming to your desk, you see, oh, I got a call from mm-hmm. One of my colleagues. I will call him back immediately without having to go in any menu or something to look it up.
Yeah, I see.
Talking about the busy lamp field itself, one other feature I want to introduce here is the pickup, and you can fetch a call with a pre-check. What do I mean by this? Mm-hmm. For example, if you have a subscription of one of your colleagues and you're working along with him and you know, he's not there right now, for example, mm-hmm. and you see that he has an incoming call. You can see, for example, who's calling him, and you can decide whether to pick the call or not. Or if you decide to pick the call, you can decide, okay, is it an internal call, so I can just easily talk to my other colleague, or if I have to answer like I'm talking to one of my customers and introduce myself with the name of the company.
So I see the number or maybe even the name of the caller.
Absolutely, yes. Okay. So if you have the number in your local address book or mm-hmm. in the address book of your PBX, you won't just see the number, you will see the name in clear.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And of course, we are able to have a three-way conference with our devices, no matter if the D100 or D400, and you can have other calls in waiting as well, mm-hmm. if necessary. Mm-hmm. For our resellers, more or less, definitely more interesting is the excellent integration. With the new firmware update 1.2a, we now support OpenVPN or IPsec. So the integration of external employees in home office or in other offices is very easy right from the start. And due to this, you can save quite a lot of cost for the separate VPN routers or its administration. So by having a secured connection, you also ensure the security policy of your company. You're preventing of economic damage due to attacks on your IT system or something like that.
Okay.
We have a central access to the address books via OpenLDAP or via Microsoft Active Directory. So you have a consistent data storage of contact data at one central point. So to sum it up, you save time and costs, and you increase the comfort for the user because you do not have to change the context locally in every device, but you can do it on a central point.
Okay.
We implemented an XML browser to control central functions or menus provided by the PBX, and you do not have to do anything in the phone itself. You just access the PBX via the XML browser and you have the menus right from the start. You do not have to do anything.
Okay.
Once again, time and cost saving, and you increase the comfort for the user if you want to switch any functions, for example. And as mentioned earlier, with the SIP protocol, we now support third-party solutions, and we are still increasing the settings and functions with ease release to be compatible to more and more third-party solutions. Another point I want to talk about is the capability of the phones to work with Lua scripts. Those scripts can be used to do any function with the telephone itself, because those scripts can work with the phones on a very deep technical level. So in general, you can imagine quite a lot of settings which your customer need, where you can provide via provisioning and Lua script into your phone to to fill his necessities, what he needs, what the customer actually needs.
Okay, so you can create even premium functions all by yourself?
All by yourself,
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Just to give an example, a few of our premium functions are technically realized via Lua script. Of course, we implemented it right from the start in our phones, and we have several icons provided just from the start. But in theory, you can think of very, very different scripts on your own.
Okay, so thanks to these Lua scripts, you can even individualize your phone and use it for IT projects, for
Absolutely.
instance?
There are many ideas you can do with those scripts.
Great.
In the future, we will provide further information on how to use it, maybe give some examples.
Okay.
The setup of our D-series in general is very easy. We have a mass installation via provisioning without a reboot. In general, provisioning is a great feature because you do not have to touch each device individually, but you can just put the your provisioning file on your PBX and send it to all of your devices. Like I mentioned, you do not have to do anything but unbox your phone, plug it in, and after a few seconds everything is configured and set up. The great advantage is that we can do a full provisioning of each and every setting without a reboot. So if you have to maintain the phones for your customers, for example, you're not decreasing the productivity due to a reboot. The employees just can work as they are used to without any break or something. And our support available from Monday to Saturday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. German time. You have trained professionals here waiting for you to answer your questions properly.
And of course in English.
Of course in English. Yeah, of course, yes. So let's talk about the D-400 in particular. What are the differences between the D-100 and D-200 compared to the D-400? Generally, the changes are more or less from a hardware perspective. The most obvious, of course, is the new display. We have here a 4.3-inch color display, and we have a capacitive touch display here. So you more or less have a smartphone feeling if you interact with your phone, with your desk phone here. We have 20 digital function keys. I will show them to you in our live demonstration in a few minutes. They are self-labeling and they have status LEDs like the extension, for example. So you can have 20 functions in your base unit and further in your extensions. The installation, like the D100 or D200, can be in 2 angles, but for the D400 you also can buy a separately wall mounting, so the D400 is fully capable of being mounted to a wall. The D400 includes a gigabit Ethernet switch with 2 ports, so you can decrease the number of cables on your desk. For example, if you just plug in your connection to your network, to your phone, and then maybe to your computer or docking station via the switch of the device itself. We have a VLAN capability, and the power supply is via power over Ethernet, so you do not have to have a separately power plug to run our phone. We have on the D400, compared to the D200, 2 USB ports. And like the D200, you can use up to 3 DXT20 extensions on your phone. But nevertheless, you still have 1 USB port left to use for further modules or for any other device in the future.
But the power supply is different when I use the extensions, right?
Well, no. If you use 1 extension, you do not have to have any other power supply. You can use it right from the start. As soon as you want to use 2 or 3 extensions, then you need a separate power supply. And the headset capabilities of the D400 are the same like the D100 or the D200. You can use corded headset or wireless headsets with the EHS standard. Now let's talk a little more about our DXT20, our extension we have here. You see it on the picture. We had it until today in black and white mode, but with the D400 it's now available in black and not in black and white, but colored, the color display. For all the customers who already purchased a DXT20, don't worry at all. The DXT20 itself recognizes to which base unit it's connected and will change the view of the DXT20. So if you plug it to a D200, you will have the black and white mode automatically. If you plug it to D400, you will have the color mode, no matter when you purchased it.
So the adoption is automatically?
Automatically, you do not have to worry. It's just working right from the start. So we have a 4.3 inch color display or black and white mode, depending on your base unit. On each level, you have 20 function keys, and 3 levels times 20, you have 60 functions you can put on your extension. So if you have 3 extensions, for example, you can have up to 180 functions on your phone. And if you take a D200, you're at 196, or with the D400 you have 200 function keys available on your phone.
And they are all freely configurable?
They are all freely configurable. You can also set them up via provisioning. You have any choice you want to do it, no matter, you can do it on the way you like.
Okay.
The installation, same like the base units, can be in 2 angles. And we have a USB hub in the DXT20, so if you plug more than 1 DXT20 into your device, you do not have to have a longer cable or something. Just plug it in the unit next to it, and you're done. Okay.
Oh yeah, and now we go up to the next is our step, the live demo. Thomas will show us now some features about the D400, from the D400. And I think first we will start, of course, with the outgoing call via the speed dial key. Thomas?
Absolutely, yeah. But let me first introduce you to the new user interface of the D400. Due to the color display and the touch functionality, we are now capable to have a totally different user experience, even though the user interface, I mentioned it, is generally the same. You will find the same settings on the same points like earlier. So let me first introduce you the home screen. We have here the home screen of the D400, and on the very top we have our status bar, where we see the calendar week, the date, and the time. And if you have any missed calls or a message waiting for you, you can just slide it down and you will be provided with further informations about what the telephone wants to tell you. For example, missed calls or anything else. In the upper left area, you have your identity, which is right now on the telephone. Underneath, you see if you have missed calls, but also the LED would flash here to show you that there's something waiting. And if you have a voice message, it would be shown in this area. On the right side, we have here the function keys we mentioned earlier. So you can set up to 20 function keys here. Right now I have those 4, and I could add further function keys here, but just to show you, as soon as you add more, you can slide through them just via the touch function of the display. In the lower section, we have our app launcher, where you can access, for example, the settings or third-party apps. We have our call log here and our address book you can access from this point.
Mm-hmm.
So now let's start with a call. I will just call a colleague by dialing his number and starting the call. I could start the call here by pressing the OK hardware button or the headset or the loudspeaker button, but I will do it via the touch interface of our telephone. And we can see that there's a call coming to him. I have him here on the extension as well. We see the LED is flashing, showing us that there's a call coming. As soon as he starts the call, we see the LED changes to a permanent light, so we know he's in a conversation right now. Obviously we are talking to him, but this function would work as well if we are not the one he's talking to. This is the call screen. We see how long this conversation is going right now. We see the name of our the person we're talking to, and of course we see his number. Right now, I just did the call via dialing the number and starting the call, but I just want to show you that you can start a call using your function keys with the subscription of your colleague's account, for example. So I have the number I dialed here right on the screen. So if I just click it, I will start the call as well. And once again, the LED is flashing. Well, maybe there's a situation where I have to ask another colleague to get some further information. In this case, I can push the pause button here, the dedicated hardware key, and now we see the icon here changed. Now it's not an ongoing call, but he's paused, he's on hold, and I see how long he's here. As soon as I have this icon, I can dial the next number, start the call, now with the OK button. And we see I'm now calling the next colleague, and the previous colleague, the first colleague, is now still on hold. I'm having a chat to the other colleague, I'm asking my question, and then I can go back to the first one, starting the call, and now I'm back. And I can switch as I like. I can also switch by using the keys here on the phone itself. But there's one thing to mention. If I use those keys, I will not automatically activate the call, get him back to the active call, but he's still on hold. So I just have to push OK to say to the phone, okay, I really want to start the conversation to this subscriber. So if we want to connect both directly, you can push this button here, and then we see transfer successful, I'm out of the call, and my colleagues can talk on their own as soon as I gave all the information I can provide to this issue, for example.
Okay, great.
What I want to show you now is that I have a missed call from one of my colleagues. and we have certain options where we can see that there is a call we missed. For example, we see here on the home screen missed call from our colleague. The message LED is flashing, so if you press here, you see you have one missed call, and by pushing this entry you will go to the call log. Or another way to show you that you have one missed call, you see, for example, here is the colleague on the XT20 or on the main screen as well, but you see the light, the LED is flashing, or here is a pulsing of the LED. So you can see I have one missed call of this colleague, and as soon as you enter the call log, the flashing will stop because the phone now knows, okay, you realized that there was one call you missed. Now I want to show you the conferencing. So I once again dial the number of my first colleague. I confirm by pressing the OK button. My colleague is answering. I'm now putting him on hold. I'm dialing the number of the next colleague. I start the call. I talk to my second colleague, and I realized that the best option would be to talk in a three-way conference. So I just pushed the conference button here in the display, and now we're connected all together. So by entering the conference mode, of course, we can have a conversation, but I could now redirect both colleagues to talk directly to each other. I can leave the conference or just go back to this screen where I have the first colleague here and the second colleague there, and start to have a one-by-one conversation as well. Or going back to the conference, I can just transfer them, and once again we see transfer successful, and now they're talking on their own. So you see the user interface is very intuitive, and there are many ways how to control your calls. The call handling in general, I think, is a very good point in the D400. I really like how it's solved.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks for presenting us the three premium Scheiße. Cut. Oh. Okay, so thanks for presenting us the three premium functions. One other premium function which I personally think is quite interesting, which you've mentioned before, is the pickup with pre-check. Could you show us this?
Yeah, sure.
function?
So just think of one colleague is being called by somebody else. So we will now just have this situation in a few seconds. So we see here on the XT20, our second colleague is trying to call our first colleague. And I'm not sure if you recognize it, but in the second line of the subscription of the first colleague, we now see the person who's calling him. And if I just pick him up, he's now transferred to me, and I have the direct conversation to him. So with this pre-check function, before picking the call, I know right from the start who I will be talking to. And one question that showed up very often is, for example, will the first colleague know that he have a missed call from the second colleague? Yes, he will. The call that I picked is in his call log as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Then the next function, the central address book, might be interesting.
Yes, sure. Via LDAP we have access to the central address book of our PBX. And if I just open up our address book here on the phone, first we have our local contacts. And right now it's just me. But you have the chance to add and edit further contacts here. By starting the search and typing the first letters, accepting them, and send the, I did a misspelling, which is just 1 second. Now I see all the persons I want to talk to. I can open the contact up. I can start the call, for example, from the address book itself. It's very easy, and you have access to your central contacts from your PBX.
And on the right side, you see this, or I see this green LED, and I'm just wondering what does it show? This.
Oh yes, the green LED, sure. On this function key here, we have the setting for the VPN. So by pushing this button, you toggle it on or off. In this case, it is off. And if I push it once again, now we toggle it back to on. So what we mentioned, the LED can show you about the status of the function underneath the particular key. And in this case, for example, I'm not sure if you can see it, we have a little key symbol up here. By toggling the VPN off, it now disappears. By reactivating the VPN, it now is showing up.
Mm-hmm. Ah, okay. Next step will be to get a look at the web interface.
Definitely, sure.
Okay, so I've already opened up the interface from the D-400.
Yes. We're now on the web user interface of the same device I was showing you earlier. We have here the start screen, and on the left side you see you have all the menus. I do not want to get too much into detail about every menu, but I just want to talk about the few changes that we made compared to the version 1.0. In general, if you need any help regarding the web UI, you have access here to your online help. So here you have the advanced information about your D-400. If you just want to have a short information about something particular, you can click on this icon here and you will have further information regarding the settings you have on the particular screen right now. So one thing I want to show you here next to the help is the settings of the function keys. We have a change here. For the D-400, I said it, we now have 20 function keys which you can configure here. You just click on them and then you have the chance to choose from a predefined list which function you want to put on this key. You configure the function as well. And for example, if you provide via provisioning a Lua script to the phone, it would show up here as soon as you click it.
So you have both ways.
You
do it either way.
You could do it either way. Of course, you can provide a fully configured Lua script, but for example, if the script itself would have a menu necessarily, then you could just edit it here. If you click on the identities, here changed quite a lot. You now have many options you can set up, and what you see here, all the options configured, they were brought to the telephone via provisioning. So we didn't do anything on the phone itself or here in the web UI. Of course, you would have the chance to edit it here or on the phone, but just to give you an example how easy provisioning is, all those settings were done via provisioning. With the new options here in the identities, you have now more abilities to work along with third-party solutions, and we will expand and add further settings here to be even more comfortable to more third-party solutions. Okay. Another thing I like to show you here is the network setting, for example. I mentioned earlier, we're now supporting VPN via OpenVPN or IPsec, and you can configure it here in the web UI, for example, but once again, all the settings done here can be provided via provisioning to the phone, so you do not have to go to each phone itself. You can have a mass installation right from the start without any effort for you when you set up the phones at your customer's place. Well, the LDAP setting I already mentioned. Those, once again, were provided via provisioning to the phone, so it's very easy to ensure that each and every telephone have a stable access to your central address book.
Okay. Well, Thomas, thank you very much. That was very interesting for the presentation of the web interface and the premium functions. Some questions according to the D series. Can I use the D series only with a Fontivo PBX?
Well, of course, we are working along with our Fontivo PBXs, but I mentioned earlier we are able to work along with third-party solutions in general. So just check your PBX or your soft PBX for the requirements, and in general, we are capable of working along with many other solutions, and we will improve our capabilities in the future.
Okay, and when will be the D400 available?
Oh, it's available right now. As far as I know, we have the first implementations already done. So just go ahead. You can have access at any dealer you know.
Okay, great. And the pictures that I've seen on the extension of the D400.
Yeah.
How do I get the pictures into
Sure.
this extension?
Best thing. Well, to individualize, of course, it's very nice to have the picture of your subscription there. You convert your pictures to a base 46 string, and then you just have to copy it to the XML file. So provisioning is once again the magic word here.
Okay, I see. Yeah, and the update 1.2a, is this also available for the D100 and D200?
The whole D-series family, one feature is for each phone in general. And according to this, yes, to answer your question, the update 1.2a is available for the D100 and D200 as well right now.
Okay. Well, then I think we're pretty much done with our little webinar. Thank you very much, Thomas.
Heidi, it was a pleasure.
In case you have any questions, you may, of course, refer to webinars@fontivo.com. This webinar you will find also on our YouTube channel, and there you will also find other little tutorials concerning provisioning and so on. So thanks for joining us and stay tuned.
Hope to see you again. Bye.
Bye.